Let us continue with the previous video. I was discussing about the Hadoop distributed file system that it has one name node and many data nodes. So, an example of the an example of a client name node data node interaction is provided in above figure. When a client writes data, it first communicates with the name node and requests to create a file. As we said in the previous video, that if a client wants to write the data in the data node, then first it has to inform to the name node. Then the name node determines how many blocks are needed and provides the client with the data node that will store the data. So name node first find out how much blocks or how much size of the resource data node it client needs. Based on the availability of the space in data node, location of the data node will be provided to the client. As part of the storage process, the data blocks are replicated after they are written to the assigned node. So one more very important thing is there, that once the one block of data will be stored in a data node, then some more copy of the same data will be stored in different data node. It will be replicated in case for failure recovery. Depending on how many nodes are in the cluster, the name node will attempt to write replicas of data blocks on nodes that are in other separate racks. So depending on the number of nodes in the cluster, the data node will replicate the number of data in the rack. If there is only one rack, then the replicated blocks are written to other servers in the same rack. After the data node acknowledges that the file block replication is complete, the client closes the file and informs the name node that the operation is complete. Note that the name node does not write any data directly to the data node. So yes, it's a point to be noted that name node will not write any data of client to the data node. It will just find out the location of the space present in the data node, and it will provide to the client, and client will write the data in the data node. It does, however, give the client a limited amount of time to complete the operation. Okay, along with the space and location, it also provides a limited amount of time to the client for writing the data in the data node. If it does not complete in the time period, the operation is cancelled. If within that time period, if the data is not written, then the write operation by the client will be cancelled out. Reading data happens in a similar fashion. So in the same way, reading operation it also happens. The client requests a file from name node, which returns the best data node from which to read the data. Suppose if client wants to read any data, then it will inform to the name node that particular data he or she wants to read. Then name node will find out the best and nearest data nodes in which the particular data is available, and that location will be given to the client. The client then access the data directly from the data. Once the location is found out, then there is no role of the name node. Client directly can access the data node and it can start reading. Thus, once the metadata has been delivered to the client, the name node step back and lets the conversation between the client and the data nodes proceed. As I said that once the establishment link established for reading or writing between the client and data node, then name node will step back and operation will start begin by client and data node. While data transfer is progressing, the name node also monitors the data nodes by listening for heartbeats sent from the data node. So time to time name node also sent a heartbeat message to the data node that data node is still in progress and it is working fine. The lack of a heartbeat signal indicates a potential node failure. The lack of heartbeat signal indicates a potential node failure. If the data heartbeat signal doesn't received, then it is called, it assumes, name node assumes that that particular data node has failed. In such a case, the name node will root around the failed data node and begin replicating the now missing blocks. Once it finds out that that particular data node has failed, then it will redirect to another data node and it will find out that which is the better and next nearest data node where it can find out the data. Because the file system is redundant, data node can be taken offline for maintenance by informing the name node of the data nodes to exclude from the HDFS pool.